So you want to follow your dreams, right? Maybe start a business or develop one. Then you probably know that you have to take risks to do that. And yet, many people who take risks get punished. I want to share with you some ideas on risk-taking in developing business. But first, let's do together some experiment. This here is a 100-euro bill. And this is a coin which I can flip. Heads you win, tails you lose. All right. How many of you would be ready to bet 80 euros against my 100-euro bill? That means you can either win this or lose your 80 euros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, great. Let's change the rules of the game a little bit. This here, 10-euro bill. Only 10 euros. But this time, you don't have to bet anything. That means you can either get my 10 euros or lose nothing. How many of you would be ready to play this time? I won't count. Okay, tell you frankly, I wouldn't play this game because I would lose both my shirts and my pants. But you chose the second game, where on average, you would only gain 5 euros. And not the first game, where on average, you would gain 10 euros. And this is because you wanted to avoid the risk of losing your money. Now, this is a very well-known and well-researched phenomenon. Daniel Kahneman here has won Nobel Prize for his research in behavioral economics and psychology that proves that people will do irrational decisions just to avoid the risk of losing. Why am I telling you this? Because people hate losing money. Because people will forgo their gains just to avoid the risk. Because people hate risk. But that means that we can earn money by taking somebody else's risk, right? Well, that's not new. I mean, we all pay our insurances. And yet, not so many people will go and take the risks for somebody else to innovate their business. So, today, I want to share with you 3 simple rules on risk-taking in developing your business. Now, I am publicly committing the following statement. I give you no guarantee whatsoever that you will succeed with those rules. I actually call them Leon's risky rules because they're risky. Please meet Hawker Siddeley. Hawker Siddeley is a training jet of the British Royal Air Force. It has 2 very powerful turbojet engines called Viper engines. Viper engines were developed by a British company called Armstrong Siddeley. And they were in the service of the Royal Air Force for almost 60 years until 2011. Now, British aircraft industry went through a lot of restructuring and consolidation. And the teams who have developed the Viper engines didn't escape this process. They ended up in a company called Bristol Siddeley. Now, Bristol Siddeley went itself through half a dozen of mergers and acquisitions. And by mid-60s, they were preparing a joint venture with an American Pratt & Whitney and French Snecma. But Rolls-Royce, who also made aircraft engines, bought the company for 60 million pounds just to avoid the competition. What Rolls-Royce didn't realize at the time was that they ended up with a very important innovation that would revolutionize the aircraft engine industry. No, it was not the Viper engines. And no, it was not some other kind of technology. It was the way the Viper engine maintenance was sold. It was sold at a fixed price per flying hour. That means that when the engines are down, or when they are serviced, the client doesn't pay. Now think about it. You don't have to pay for your internet connections when it's down. Huh? Sounds great. It doesn't exist yet. Now, we're talking about 50 years ago. By the way, Rolls-Royce has celebrated 50th anniversary of this invention, which they call the power by the hour. They even trademarked this name. So why is this invention so important? Well, sure, the clients don't have the risk anymore of budgeting their maintenance. More important, you have the alignment of interest between the manufacturer of the engines and the client, because the manufacturer will make more profit by doing the engines that don't fail, rather than before, when they did profits by selling maintenance for the engines that do fail. So here's my first risky rule. Don't get paid by the means, rather by the outcome. What does it mean? Would you take the risk of using the pricing units which are related to the outcome of what your client buys, like in this example, flying hours, rather by the means that you put in your solution, like spare parts or maintenance hourly rates? Will you take that risk? Your clients will love it. You will make more money. But the most important part, you won't have a choice but become a better professional at whatever you're doing. You won't have a choice to become better. You won't have a choice to become better. Isn't that a risk worthwhile taking? Now, I know that many of you have your beautiful phones with you, and I'm sure all of you love your phones, but do you like waiting for a phone call? Are you familiar with a telephone that doesn't ring? It happened to me. Well, actually, the phone was pretty fine. It was the client that didn't call me back. Did I say the client? Oops. It was not the client yet. It was a prospect. And I was a young engineer, just turned salesperson, a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I had this great meeting with this prospect. It was a big agricultural company. They harvested the fruit in the field, sorted, stored it, sold it on the wholesale market. And I was trying to sell them a computerized system that would print the labels in the field and help them to automate their administrative tasks. The prospect told me that they would save tons of money with my system. So he asked for a proposal. He said he'd talk to his partner and call me back. After 2 weeks of not hearing anything from him, I tried to call him. 2 more weeks, I realized I couldn't get in touch with him. I got lucky. I talked to his assistant. She was really helpful. She told me they were in the busy period. Busy period? Aren't they always in a busy period? What is he trying to do? Stress me? Negotiate a better price? I couldn't concentrate on anything. After all, this was my first big deal. Should I wait? Or should I call him? For how long should I wait? I was starting to get anxious and nervous, and I just couldn't stand it anymore. I needed to find out what's going on. Whether it's a yes, whether it's a no, couldn't care less. I just would do anything to know what's going on. Fast forward to these days. There's a young entrepreneur who lives here in Lyon, whose name is Sylvain Tillon, and some of you may know him. I recently talked to Sylvain about his latest venture, Tilki, which takes away the anxiety of salespeople. Now, I don't want to do any promotion here, but let me just say that his online service allows the salespeople to follow the proposals and to know exactly who read them or not, when, for how long, which pages, etc., 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 etc. Wow! Boy, would I love to have a thing like this when I was waiting for that phone call. What does it have to do with the risk? It's the risk of the unknown. It's the anxiety of the unknown, which we all hate, right? Well, Sylvain took it away. He took away the anxiety of the salesperson. He unrisked his clients out of the anxiety, and that's why they pay him. So here comes my second risky rule. Unrisk your client. Now, some of you may doubt my knowledge of English language. Unrisk, does it really exist? Well, now that you have doubts, you will remember this word. Good. Okay, so you want to develop your dream business. But for this, you will have to develop and manage your team. Now, how many people out there are ready to be managed by you? When I came to France over 20 years ago, I used to manage one of the first localization companies in the world. For those of you who don't know what localization is, it's a process of adapting software from one language to another, say from English to French. It includes translation of all the text on the screen and in the manuals, and some engineering. I will spare you the technical details, but I want you to understand the translation part of the business. Actually, it's very similar to a traditional translation bureau. You find a client, you sell a translation job, you find the translators who can do it, and you oversee the process. Now, good translation bureaus contribute to the whole process by doing quality assurance. What do? They proofread their translation and correct possible mistakes. Not that the translators are bad, but if you want to do a really good translation, especially in a technical context, well, you need to be very good at the technical context. So here's a major problem of all the translation bureaus. They never, ever put in direct contact their clients and their translators. For an obvious reason. Either one could have an incentive to bypass the translation bureau and save the margin. Now, I was new to this business, and frankly, I found this practice foolish. So I took the risk, and I decided to trust both my client and my translators. The first time I did it, it was a big translation project in multiple languages. I announced to my client that I will bring all my translators with me for the training about their software. And of course, I charged the client for this training as a special feature of my quality assurance program. I had a lot of surprises. To start with, my translators loved it. Many of them were ex-software engineers. So imagine the excitement they had to meet the people who developed the software they were working on. The client software developers were very happy too, because for the first time in their lives, they could talk to people who translated their software to all these languages. They could show off with their great products and feel really important. And due to this training, I didn't need the proofreading anymore. So I ended up selling the project for more, having it cost less, and the most important thing, I had my team and my client happy and preferring to work with me rather with my competitors. What did I learn from this? Probably the most powerful, risky tool of them all. Take the risk of not controlling your team rather than inspire them. Think about it. You don't need to control others. You get a better work done, probably more money, and your clients are happy. Isn't it magic? All you need to do is inspire. But you can inspire. So now, you know my 3 risky rules. Don't get paid by the means, rather by the outcome. Unrisk, remember? Unrisk your client. Take a risk of not controlling your team, rather inspire them. Will you take this risk? I don't know. It's your risky dream. It's your risky business. Will you follow your dream? Think about your client, your offering, and your teams. Think that you're doing it for them. Think that you owe it to them. Or simply say, I owe you. I owe you. Come on, say it. I owe you. I owe you. Thank you.